Testing, testing, testing. The roof, the roof, the roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Let that mother burn, burn. Okay, I know that was a little distasteful, but in this video, nobody got hurt, so I can joke about it. All right, so I got a new one here. So he was this guy. He was upset that his company wasn't paying him what he felt like was a livable wage. So what did he do? He decided to burn it to the ground. All right, let's go ahead and get it. Wait a minute, before we get into it, I'm not too proud to beg. I'm not too proud to ask. I have about 83% of people that are not subscribed to me, but keep coming back and watching my videos. So help your girl out. Throw them likes in a circle. All right, let's get into it.
They're not going to pay us enough to live or afford to live. At least pay us enough not to do this.
Arson investigators say this video posted to social media is part of their investigation into the warehouse fire early Tuesday morning in Ontario. It appears to show cases of toilet paper being set on fire while a person repeatedly claims he isn't paid enough to live on. 29-year-old Shamil Abdul Karim has been arrested for felony arson. Police say he was working at the warehouse through a third-party company. Investigators say they are reviewing the video, but have not confirmed whether the person is Abdul Karim for the massive blaze that destroyed the more than 1 million square foot facility. Firefighters were able to contain the blaze to the building and no one was injured. Fire officials tell us arson was suspected almost immediately based on how quick the fire spread inside the facility. We spoke to a co-worker who told us he had just met the suspect moments before the fire broke out.
No suspicion that it was him. Actually, he was missing, so everyone was trying to find him. Everyone was blaming the robots at first. We're almost 100% sure it was the robots until we seen that video, of course.
Definitely.
Girl, not him selling them out on TV on ABC 7 News. He just selling them out. Yeah, it had to be him. We thought it was the robots, but it was him.
Characteristic fire.
That's crazy.
The fire behavior that they were experiencing inside and the rapid spread of that fire for such a large building, to move that quickly, it definitely pushed our firefighters into that defensive operation, and that was one indication that it could possibly be a arson of nature.
Look at that.
In the final clip of the video, it appears to show a corridor of the warehouse.
This man set his job on fire, this warehouse company on fire, and recording it. You know how bold that is? I know people tired. I know people tired, but this is wild. This is some wild stuff. And then I'm wondering, where is everybody at? This is a 1.2 million square foot building, I believe is what they said. So a very large building. Like, warehouses normally got people everywhere. Like, I worked at Amazon, people everywhere. I worked at FedEx, people everywhere. So this building, I believe, is way bigger than the ones that I've ever been in. And I'm just looking at it like, where everybody at? And that was such a bold move because I believe that there is only like 20 employees that work in this building. So the other 19, he probably shrugged his shoulders and said, they'll be all right. They'll get out in time. It's only 19 other people that got to get up out of here. Some bold stuff.
Flames, with the person stating,
"There goes your inventory."
More than 24 hours later.
Kimberly Clark. Okay, so what I think is so crazy about this is that, so you're upset because you feel like your company is not paying you enough. Okay. So you decide to set the building on fire. In my mind, I have a little bit of experience in warehouse, so I can kind of see the different levels of how people get paid. It's something like the entry level people can be like the package handler type people that are on the floor, have to deal with packages and possibly stuff like that, depending on, you know, what type of warehouse it is. And then it's like the forklift operators, it's the managers that actually walk the floor, it's CDL truck drivers. It's like all these other positions that he possibly could have tried to apply for and work for in order to move up the ladder and move up the chain. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it's giving a little bit of entitlement. because obviously when you went to apply for the position and you saw, oh, I can work in this position and it's only paying me $18 an hour. Let's see. And this is in California. So if he decided to apply for a position that's $18 an hour, working 40 hours a week, so let's say that's a minimum. Warehouse, sometimes you could work a lot more than that. So we're looking at $720 every week. Okay. Times 2, 1440. Now that's before taxes, right? So let's take out a random, I don't know how much are the taxes in California, right? So let's take out, I don't know. Let's be generous. Take out 500. Let's say $940 for the month. That can't be right. My math got to be off. But just understanding everybody has the opportunity and the mental capacity to understand when you apply for a position, you apply for the position, you see the title of the position, what it entails and how much they're going to pay you, which is most important. If you know it's not enough money, why would you take the job? If that's the only job that you can get, okay, you take that, you build around it. Maybe you have a second job or you figure something out. In my mind, he decides to burn the building down and get upset with the company. All they gonna do is file a claim and rebuild. I believe he's gonna go to prison for like 10 years for arson. So it's just, it's mentally doing something to me because it's giving a sense of entitlement. You're mad because they won't pay you more income, whereas you could have taken on some kind of additional training. I believe forklift drivers, they can do some kind of training or certification in order to be a forklift operator, and they get paid a little bit more money doing that. He could have been trying to move up the ranks. I don't know how long he's been working there. I think all this information is going to come out later, but he could have been trying to move up the ranks to become a manager or something like that. And then a really big one, he could have been trying to get his CDL license on the side. These people make like $2,500 a week, you know? I mean, you know, that's a good livable wage, even in the grand scheme of everything going on in the economy. But I'm wondering mentally, like, what was going on with him personally at home? Was it that bad where it's like he's working his job, he's working more than 40 hours, he's doing the best he can, but he just can't catch a break, he can't keep up, and he takes his frustration out on the job? Whereas now, he don't even got to worry about the $18 an hour, baby. He don't even have to worry about paying the rent. He ain't even got to worry about that high electric bill or that car note or that car insurance. You know why? Because where he going, he getting 3 hots and a cot. And he ain't got to worry about paying for nothing. He going to have to worry about paying time in jail. And it's unfortunate, but it's kind of crazy, the sense of entitlement. Like, us as human beings, we know that any low barrier entry type of position, and I'm not coming for him or anybody in that position because I too have worked in those positions, but any position where, you know, there's like little to no interview, they'll take almost anybody because they're gonna bring you on and they're gonna slave you out for, you know, their little income they're giving you. But everyone knows those types of positions, you're not really gonna be making no money like that. You not, because there's no training, there's no certification. It's nothing of a higher level, a higher hierarchy. People that go through training, certifications, additional schooling, like after high school, you go to college, say you become a doctor, something like that, a lawyer, something like that. It's like, okay, you have an idea of what kind of income you're gonna make. And even though people right now, with what's going on in the economy, even though people that are making $50,000 a year or even $150,000 a year, everybody is feeling it right now, right? So mentally for him, I'm just like, what was the trigger that made him want to do that? Because it's given he gave up. It's given he gave up. And his was in a different way, because some people strike at work. Some people go on strike. Some people just don't show up. Some, you know, other ways of doing it. But you just set these people building on fire intentionally, recorded it, and said, here's your inventory. I mean, now you ain't got to worry about the $18 an hour. I mean, you ain't got to worry about paying no bills for about a decade at this point. It's unfortunate. Let's get back into it. Oh, wow. That's all that's left. $1.2 million square foot.
A man recorded himself burning down a warehouse he worked at in California. And in the video, he says, all you had to do was pay us enough to live. Like, literally, yeah. Like, that's literally all they had to do. I'm not surprised at all that, like, this man went in there and burned down the warehouse because he's not receiving a livable wage. Like, the thing about even minimum wage is that it's supposed to...
See, and here we go. Like, so this is where it's going to ruffle some feathers, because I don't believe in entitlement. And in some areas, it's like, if you've done nothing, you will have nothing. If you haven't done some kind of course certification, worked in some kind of industry that can pay you well, if it's just, this is what you get paid an hour and you're going to run yourself into the ground and that's it, okay, that's also your choice, right? So I don't agree with the fact that this guy should have burnt the building down. Like, it's other people that work there. Somebody could have lost their life. These other people, what now they gotta figure out what they gonna do for income. One guy was talking, he said he just started the job and it paid good, but I think he was a CDL driver. But it's like, I don't agree with it. Like, can't just be going around burning stuff down because you mad.
To be the minimum amount that someone can have in order to have a livable wage. And the minimum wage hasn't raised in like 20 years almost. So it's not making any sense. I understand why that man burnt down the warehouse that he worked at and said, all you had to do was pay us enough to live. Why are people going to work and not having enough money to survive? Like, even at the minimum, the bare minimum that someone should have is they should have enough to pay all of their bills and be able to live and be able to, like, get by without struggling. Like, that's the whole point of minimum wage. That's the whole point of, like, getting, you know, at least a livable wage to live somewhere. But it's like, most of the times people are receiving more than the minimum wage and it's still not a livable wage. And like, these companies and corporations just hoard billions and billions of dollars rather than paying their employees a livable wage.
Listen, one thing I learned a long time ago, when you at the bottom of the chain in these organizations, don't expect too much. Don't expect too much if you not willing to fight tooth and nail to once again get some kind of training, certification degree or something to put yourself up there. You're going to be the underdog and you're going to forever complain about being the underdog, about how they don't pay you enough and it's still not enough. Yeah.
So that their employees can actually have a greater quality of life and they can come into work actually wanting to work and actually wanting to better the company if they're being compensated correctly. But like, they're not. And that's not just the case for this worker who burnt down his warehouse. Like, that's the case for a bunch of these jobs all across the entire country. Like, these companies are not paying their workers a livable wage. But literally, the minimum that someone is supposed to be receiving is the minimum amount that it would cost for someone to actually live their life and be okay and not, like, be struggling. Yet these jobs pay more than minimum wage and people are still struggling. And people aren't receiving livable wages, but these companies and corporations and the owners are just hoarding billions of dollars. Like,
I mean, the owners can hoard billions of dollars because they're the owners. When you put in the work and you work hard, you got to do what you got to do to separate yourself from being at the very, very bottom. Because it can turn into a victim mindset of they treating us this way, they only paying us this. Well, you got to figure out what you got to do to put yourself in the next best situation. Because they don't care. The world does not care. The world does not care. The people at the bottom is very difficult, but it's a mindset you got to have to want to be able to pull yourself up out of that, to be able to understand this is the position I'm in and this is how they treat me and people don't care. And it's been like this. It's going to be like this unless I decide to do something to pull myself out of this situation, right? To make more income, to learn more skills.
Never made any sense. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing things like this happen more and more, because we're living in a place where people aren't being paid a livable wage, but yet they're expected to go to work and grind and do all of these things in order to ensure their survival. It's like, literally, people are just working to survive. No one at this point working a 9 to 5 is living. They are surviving. And I feel like that's not fair. I feel like we're all here to live life. We're not here to just survive and just pay all of our money to taxes and then not have any money to live. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's so crazy. But I honestly am not too shocked that that man burnt down that warehouse. Like, literally, he said.
I remember when I was younger and my first job was McDonald's. I still remember my mama went in there and got the job for me. She was like, this girl need a job. But with that, right, I understood, and I did it for a long time. Through 9th grade, I think through 12th grade, I was there. And when you young, you just have to have a job. It's routine. You don't have real bills and obligation. But as I started to get older, and I think even in the summertime, when I would come home for college, they would let me work because they remembered me and all that. It was a job, but it showed me where I didn't want to be. You know, it is, I think, working a certain 9 to 5s, especially when you're younger, it teaches you some really good foundational skills, right? It teaches you customer service. It teaches you time management. Like, if you're running late, you got to call your boss, right? You got to communicate with it. It teaches you how to count money a little bit better. It teaches you how to deal with adversity. It teaches you, patience. It teaches you all these life skills, I feel like, that are foundational. But you get into those positions, they're not the best positions, but you get in there, you make your money, you take what you take from it, and you work to get into something else and something better.
All you had to do was pay us a livable wage, and they couldn't do that. So
it's just a reminder on how far people are willing to go when you underpay them and overwork them.
All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to... There goes your inventory.
Imagine getting paid $18 an hour in Southern California to work in this giant factory with only 20 people. He set fire to a Kimberly-Clark toilet paper warehouse, and if you think about it, each unit of toilet paper runs upwards of $15 to $20. And this happened to them allegedly because he wasn't being paid a livable wage. This is not like a small mom and pop toilet paper company. This is like a multinational, multi-billion-dollar company.
I mean, I understand they're a multi-billion-dollar company, but it's their company. That's just the way the world works. Like, this the position, this how much they gonna pay you. I mean, that's just what it is. Until, once again, you work on something better. This they company. That's crazy, though, to think that one pack of toilet tissue is like $15, $20 per pack, but they're getting paid like $18 an hour. That is wild, but I mean, that's just what it is.
Michael Su, who is the CEO of Kimberly-Clark, makes $15 million every single year. It is seriously only just a matter of time before more things like this start happening, because at this point, people are getting tired and they have nothing to lose. Follow to hear stories that most don't.
That's so crazy to think, like, more things like this can pop up and happen. I feel like it's going to be more stuff to come. It's going to be more things like this where people pretty much, they lose their minds and they give up. And that's one thing I was saying too. Like, it can feel very tough, very hard, very difficult, because I said it in one of my previous videos, like, you're doing the thing. You're doing the adult thing. You got a job. You might have two. You getting up, you going to work. You bring it home to check and you pay the bills and the money goes back out into the economy. And after that, it's just like, you don't really have anything left for yourself. And then, if you do have a little something for yourself and you try to save a little money, something gonna happen. And then now you in the negative, right? Now you got to take out a loan. Now you scrambling because you're doing what you can, but you're trying to fight an uphill battle. I really want to see what they have to say as they get updates, as they talk to him about, what's going on with him and things like that and why he decided to do that. Because I'm sure he really had a lot of stuff going on at home. Like, he was probably trying to do his best, and he was just real frustrated. And sometimes when you get real frustrated and you feel like people playing in your face, you'll go crazy. A switch will get flipped or something like that. And then you just do something crazy.
People just boycott differently. Some people don't show up to work for a few weeks. Some people go on a march, and some people burn their workplace down. That man said, pay us or I'm going to get rid of it all. And that he did.
should have paid us enough to fucking live. You know, we may not get paid enough to fucking live, but these bitches dirt cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough.
They were paying this.
That's some bold stuff right there. Boy, that's some bold stuff.
Worker about $18 to $20 an hour. That's not livable. Gas is expensive. Groceries is expensive. Literally every and anything is expensive these days. And y'all don't think that people aren't going to crack? Imagine working 40 hours plus, can't even have time for yourself, and you're only getting paid $18 an hour. And trust me, I'm not saying that he was right in what he did, but I'm saying that I see why he did it.
The way that he decided to boycott is insane. I'm sorry to see that, you know, he went off the deep end and did that, but we'll hear more on this story. I really want to know, you know, what was going through his mind and what was going on with him at home. It's very unfortunate. I'm grateful that, you know, I know I made light of it at the beginning of the video, but it was only because I knew like nobody got hurt, and it's very unfortunate. But now he's gonna serve time for quite a while, and they just gonna file a claim and they gonna rebuild, and it's just gonna be a shortage of Scott tissue, like a shortage of tissue or something like that. I don't know, but I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.